Hey, I'm Alan Firstenberg,
And I am Mike Wolfson,
and welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs.
Welcome back to the show, Mike. How's it
Thank
going?
you. It's going great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, always great to have you on. Um, so for those that might not remember, uh, you and I have known each other as GDEs for what, 10 years now?
Yep, at
Wow.
least.
Um, it's been quite a ride. You're still an Android GDE, right? I've been
Yeah.
following things correctly.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I do Android and AI work both at my current job, so it's fun. Perfect
very
mix
good.
of my world.
So you had actually messaged me a couple of weeks back and said you had listened to one of our episodes where Mark and I talked about AI and user interfaces, and you said you've been doing some work and some thinking and some presentations on this line and wanted to chat about it. So why don't you help us along?
Sure. So, in particular, kind of the nuance of UX really as we move forward is that um, we're not going to be able to be as prevalent in the user's face as we used to be. For example, it's likely that touchscreens will go away as a prominent visual user interface, and other things like that. So it's clear that as the use of AI evolves, including both kind of in a chat environment or doing stuff for you in one-off in situations, and also agents doing autonomous work in the background for you, um, we need to evolve the way the interface with the user happens so that we communicate effectively with them and provide the information they need, but not pester them with useless details.
And I think that's an important point. One of the things that we talked about back in the when we were talking about Alexa and the assistant, we were very focused on this voice first type of interface. And I feel like people were saying, "Well, aren't you always going to need a screen of some sort, a keyboard of some sort?" And we're like, "Well, we think it's more complicated than that." And it sounds like you're kind of going a step further with that, even.
Absolutely. So I did want to talk with you about this because of your history with voice interface. Obviously, like you have a lot of idea of how that works of no touchscreen, but it goes much beyond just voice for our future. There's haptics, there's environment, and the other important thing is there's data. So the AI having access to all sorts of data, both about you and the world, is part of the UI now.
It's really kind of funny when we back in the voice first era, we talked about context a lot. I used to say context was queen. And then we kind of referred to it mostly in the sense of remembering conversations and making sure there was enough, data added to it. I feel like now when we talk about context, we boost it up even more than that.
I have
Right.
I have a great example for talking about context, and I will use a prop for this. Um, so I really love the Meta glasses, not really the AI functionality of them. In fact, I gotta take them off. They're gonna start making all sorts of noise. But I was trying them out in downtown Mesa, Arizona, when I first got them, and trying out the AI functionality in particular. And I was standing in front of an excellent Mexican restaurant. As you imagine, there may be many of those in downtown Mesa.
One
And I hit
hopes.
my right. I mean, and literally, I was standing right in front of one. I hit my glass and I said, not my glass, my glasses. I said, hey, M word, uh, find me a breakfast burrito. And it said, boop, 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 beep, bop. Breakfast burritos are delicious. They have sausage, bacon, and we found a delicious one for you in Louisville, Texas, or something. I'm like, no, that's not at all what I want. I'm here in the middle of downtown Mesa. Can you find me one that's going to be great? And it said, oh, yeah, sorry about that. There's a Taco Bell 3 blocks down. Thank you, Meta. That's not at all what I wanted. Um, but context is everything. It needed to know where I was, and it needed to know what good Mexican food is, I guess, or at least what I consider good Mexican food.
Clearly, it needed more context there. One of the things that I still remember is, um, not even at I/O in the past 2 years. I think it was 3 years ago when Google was presenting their vision of the future of search, and they build it as the future of search. They had somebody wearing a pair of glasses and looking at a display and saying, "What is this?" It's that combination of the visual context, being able to interpret it, and then being able to do something with it. And that's, that's still incredibly a powerful notion to me, is being able to just be contextually aware of your environment, your preferences, all of these things about you at that moment that feel like it's, going to be really powerful when we have those inputs.
So I was talking with this yesterday with other GDE. I'm not sure if you know Thomas Kuneth. He's a German
Yeah.
GDE and Android GDE. Great guy. And I showed him my presentation, asked for his input. And the interesting feedback he gave me was the creepy value of
Yes.
the privacy implications of of the AI knowing all this stuff and using it for all these interactions. And I didn't really have an answer for him as a U.S. citizen, that maybe I don't spend as much consideration to that as a European. It's an interesting question and an
It
important one.
it's an interesting and important question. I feel like and this is strictly my personal view on that sort of thing, is that I want the agent to be acting on my behalf. And that's kind of where the question is, where's the loyalty of this agent? Is this agent working for me? Is this truly working for me? Or is it working for the company that made it? And there's where I feel like the trouble lies. And you're right. I don't have a good answer beyond that.
That's a super controversial thing you just laid out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Interesting sidetrack, and we don't need to go too far off of this because I really do want to concentrate on the UI. Both ChatGPT and Gemini have announced shopping integrations with a bunch of different companies, Wayfair, Walmart, and Target. I know are ChatGPT's partners, and that really blurs the line between if the agent is working on your behalf or the company's behalf.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big issue there.
So let's talk some more about the UX.
Yes, great.
What's the big change between what we have now and kind of, even what we have in some of these smart glasses and what you're picturing?
I think maybe the smart glasses are still probably the use case we want to think about going forward of a no UI environment. Um, and I think the environment is that context awareness,
Mm.
where it actually is aware of what you're seeing and where you are, and it and your preferences. Those things. And then the important part, and this is maybe what my presentation is about, and what I want to communicate about, is the application developer's responsibility to provide the information at the correct time.
And to me, this again goes back to, who is this agent working for? Because I feel like, certainly when it comes to the modern crop of apps, every app developer will say, well, of course my app is for the customer. And then we'll send an unceasing amount of notifications that, are advertising something new without really taking the customer's, not just preferences, but desires into account. Because preferences I can change. desires are fuzzier, right? And I
Um,
guess what to give you an example, I was flying an airline recently that I had not flown before, so I installed their app, which is fine. The app then prompted to every single day tell me about a new discount offer on flights. And I'm like, I didn't get this app to book flights. The flights are booked. I got this app so that I could know when my flight was leaving and change seats and that kind of stuff. Um, so I could turn the notifications off, but I didn't want to because I wanted to get the notifications about my flight. My preferences, my desires were not to book another flight, but the notification system didn't know that. And I feel like that's,
is counterproductive
yeah,
because it's the same sort of nuance that a lot of audio engineers run into in like medical environments where beeps become repetitive and the use cases obviously you're very familiar with those where there's too many different audio sounds coming in and people just ignore all of them so they don't hear the code that's the
right.
important one.
We start
And
tuning
there's
things out. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and so there's all sorts of also nuance about that particular audio tone and how you can use that to differentiate and, make your tone heard. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is only providing that tone at an important time. So, one a fun example, and I don't know if you'll remember this, but it definitely comes to mind, is there's a Jerry Seinfeld episode where he has a really annoying assistant, and in fact, there's an airplane scene, and they're both sitting on the airplane, and she's like, "Jerry, just so you know, in a few minutes, there's someone's going to come around, and they're going to give you a choice of water. You can get either sparkling or still, or if you want a drink, you can have that too. Jerry, you're going to need to put your seatbelt on in a few minutes. You don't need to put it on now, but it's." And he goes, he freaks, and that's the whole episode. I don't know if you remember that. We need to avoid being that annoying UI. Um, and the whole world is changing as we start to use autonomous actions, and that's basically what the message is. How we, um, you know, uh, are silent at the right times and noisy at the right times, so that we are reaching our customer, giving them the opportunities to interject their options at the right time. One of the real solutions for this is you don't present all those options to the customer. When you present them water, you present them sparkling water because you either know that that's the water that they like because we know their preferences, and you could certainly do that on an airline, or you just make a guess. Most people like sparkling, so we're going to bring sparkling around. And if Jerry doesn't want sparkling, he'll tell us, and we'll grab the other water. Instead of presenting the user with all these options, we start to present them with the solutions um, based on our context, like you were talking about before.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, thinking about the air, delivering airline beverages, the attendant will usually say something like, "Do you want something to drink?" Or they say, "Do you want coffee?" And it's fine if you then say, "This is what I want." Instead, here are my specifications. That's fine. But rather than overwhelming you up front and saying, "Would you like something to drink? We have Coke, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have coffee, we have water," they're giving, they're just telling something to you and then accepting your feedback on it. And that's a very simple generic agent. You can imagine that a custom agent that knows your preferences might say something like, "Hey, Alan, you haven't gotten a drink in 2 hours. Let me get you some water." And if you then say, "No, wait a minute, I haven't finished the one on my desk," or "That would be great, but make it an orange juice instead," it can handle that. So I just invented a robotic agent, which will get me water, but
PM,
the concept is the
registering it
same.
now. Don't anybody in the world go copy that. Me and Alan are going to be producing this product. Look forward to our release soon.
So I think you made a great point there. As you said, there's kind of two different interaction methods. One is that conversational dynamic, I'm having a conversation with my agent right now. And the other is that I've got an agent that is working on my behalf. And every so often, we need a touch point. How is that how are you, what's the advice you're giving on that agent interface?
I don't know if I have super strong advice on that agent interface. I mean, I think it depends on the modality we're in, um, notifications, etc. I mean, it depends really on the modality where we're in.
Well, what's the modality you I mean, what are the, I guess,
On
kind of
mobile, I
options to
do think
explore here?
notifications, it depends. I mean, but I actually want to pivot this a little bit towards applications, existing applications. So we're talking about agents and all this stuff that are working autonomously. And as our worlds are evolving, our applications are starting to integrate these agents into the applications themselves. And that's where I think we need to think. Uh, Drink if you're drinking every time I say think. I we need to understand how adding all these AI solutions into our existing apps is going to affect the UI. What is going to happen once we start adding more stuff, more notifications, more choices, more interaction points, we are going to create cognitive overload so that
Mm.
the user has too many choices. We've already talked about this a bunch. So it becomes difficult for the user to navigate our applications. There's too much going on. They're forced to remember patterns. They have to navigate this screen to this screen, not instead of just naturally using our app, um, and that sort of thing. Did you had something to interject? Go
No, no,
ahead.
no, keep going, keep going. I have a follow
Um,
up thought.
yeah, and those things are bad for the customer. We need to think about how we use no UI to anticipate their needs and also give them feedback at important times, times that are giving confirmations something has happened. The classic example is when they first had Google Home, you would ask it to turn on the light and it would say, Alan, I just turned on your light. Like, no, I don't need to hear you tell me that. I can see the damn light is on. And eventually they figured that out, right? The confirmation is the
What I liked about, and that's actually a great example, what I liked about where that evolved to was that instead of a text feedback in that case, they changed it to a tone feedback so that it was a rising tone when it turned something on and a lowering tone when it turned something off. So that in my case, very frequent case, when I would say turn the light on and it heard turn the light off, it would give me the lowering tone so I know, okay, it heard me, but it heard me wrong. And I think that's actually a great example of saying we still need that feedback. We still need to make sure that the agent has acknowledged that, but that acknowledgement doesn't have to be a text message saying so. That feedback can take on whatever an appropriate modality is.
That's the thing that why when you asked me the question of what the proper modality is, I didn't have an answer, is because I don't know if there is an answer, but that's what we need to consider. Because the other alternative is every time we use an AI and an agent, it just goes away and doesn't give us any feedback at all,
Yeah.
is also terrible.
Yes.
We need to know something's happening on our behalf. We need to know that the question we asked it was understood and confirmed, and it is working on the right thing for us.
That's a
And
great
all
point.
those things are an important part. I mean, that's your example. All those things are an important part of the UI that we need to somehow balance. But it's not through tons of voice interactions and constant chatter. Um,
So the other point though that I wanted to raise, and this was something that we always struggled with in the voice era, was how do people discover features, new features, whatever. We always used to be able to say, oh, people will just ask questions and it will naturally be discovered. And I think our experience has been that doesn't really work. one of the advantage of visual interfaces is that when there is something new, we can show you something new. You will, be working on it and you will say, hey, what's this new menu item? What's this, we can see the feature. We can't hear a feature and we can't somehow magically know about new features when there's no user interface. And I don't know that we've come up with a good solution for that yet.
It really goes back to kind of what you were talking about with AI kind of eroding choice and maybe
Mm,
not always working on behalf of the user, where we're going to probably encounter a lot of times when AI is making a choice for us. In fact, I think that's maybe what I've been advocating for this
yeah,
whole talk. Um, Maybe I'm going to go against it at the very end of our talk. Um, but maybe it's not making the right choice for us or it's not presenting us the right options. And because we don't know what options are available or we have decision fatigue, we go with what we're presented instead of what we really desire. And that's
I think
dangerous.
I think though one can imagine a sophisticated AI, and I don't think we're anywhere near this point, where when a new feature is added, the AI then go back and looks at our history to say, hey, when they made a decision before, if this option was available, there's a chance they would have made it. And that now changes what the default is, which has, ups and downs. Or maybe that's when it reaches out to us. It sends us that notification on some level at an appropriate time, which is not interrupting us and not when we suddenly need to make that decision, but to gently remind us or to gently let us know, hey, I've got this new feature, which sounds like it's something that may work for you. The problem is that the company that made this feature is always going to want to say that. They're always going to be pushing, hey, this is the feature, the latest feature. Don't you want to use it?
That's how PMs make their KPIs.
Right. But that's not working in our interest. And will the agent be the right mediator for that? And I think in the short term, the answer is no, of course not.
Yeah. Um, we aren't there yet, but you definitely see some sort of, personal agent that is at the end of the month, assessing everything you did and kind of gives you a, monthly assessment, you know,
Yeah.
on multiple levels. Maybe it's not even about features, but it's about, beverages. We noticed, you only drank three, and of course, this is a feature of our new beverage AI product. We noticed you only drank 3 glasses of water per orange juice, and we really think it should be 4 glasses of water for your health. So,
Yeah.
um,
So our
and
beverage butler is definitely,
oh, nice, beverage butler.
beverage butler
Nice, it works.
getting some
TM.
good features there.
Gonna have to make sure that URL is reserved before we release this. That's big money.
So Mike, this is this is fantastic. I think it certainly gives things that developers need to think about as they are building, both the dynamic agent and the autonomous agent is what's the right level of interaction? What's, the best way to do this? A lot of good stuff to think about. You've once again got me thinking about a lot of things. Um, with more questions than answers.
Yep. Well, the thing is, we don't have those answers now, and obviously, this is evolving as this technology is evolving so quickly. So it's fun for us to think about how these things are going to impact our future.
Yep, always fun and exciting times. Love to hear how others are addressing these issues or thinking about these issues. I feel like this is going to be a big topic that we'll be talking more and more about. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Give us your feedback in the comments below. Where can folks reach out to you, Mike, if they want to talk to you some more?
MikeWolfson.com. That's everything.
Fantastic. So look forward to discussing this some more with you and many other topics on Two Voice Devs.
Two voice devs.
Take care, Mike.
Cheers.